On movement, a little bit of strength today. We'll go through the balance as well, things that we've practiced before. Moving forwards with these sessions, what I'd like to do is make them a little bit more Qigong orientated. So in a few weeks' time, we'll be doing a 5-element flow practice, and we'll be doing a 5-day challenge covering those 5 elements. But I'll give you more information on that as soon as I have the dates and things. But let's start off, as always, with a little bit of warm-up. So take your feet about shoulder width apart. And let's just start off by shaking. So just tapping the heels into the ground. And why we're doing this is just to clear any blockages that you might feel in the shoulders, particularly. So let the shoulders go, upper back. Creating vibration through the bones and through the muscles, through the ligaments, the tendons, or the fascia and the organs. Letting the head go as well, so just letting the neck and the head go. Maybe bringing the wrists and the arms into it. Shaking. And if it feels good for you, just taking a fuller breath in through the nose. And just releasing. So you can create a sound, make a sound, you can sigh out, you can hum out, whatever feels good for you this morning. It's like waking up, breathe in, and and a couple more, breathe in, and let go of any tightness, any tension. One more, breathe in. And let it out. Slow it down. Slow it down. Come to standing. Just bring your feet to a comfortable hip width apart. Just stand for a moment and just be aware of any sensations running through the body. And just keeping the lips lightly together. Just letting the breath settle. Finding your center of balance. So first feel the feet connected to the ground. So grounded, stable, strong through the lower body. And then connect upper body towards the sky, so lifting the crown. So just using the arms, so you've got one palm facing down, other palm facing up, touching, facing the sky. Notice in this position, if you're pulling forwards or pulling backwards, you lose that gravity line, that nice center line. So really focus on the center line, lining yourself with gravity. And then swap hand position. So top hand comes down and faces the ground. And then the other hand has gone up to face the sky. And then just do that a few times, just nice and slow. So what is fantastic about this very simple movement is that you're bringing your awareness to your gravity line, so you're connected, being grounded through the lower body, light and lifted through the upper body. But you're also getting a good shoulder and arm workout because you're rotating and spiraling. Wrists, elbows, shoulders. Couple more. And then just bringing the arms down to the side. Just stand for a moment. I'll just let Julie back in, who dropped out of Zoom. Step out to your shoulder width, a little bit of bend in the knees. The reason why we go shoulder width when we're doing any of these movements is to give you a little bit more base of support. If you're here, you have less base of support. A greater, wider base of support makes you a little bit more stable. The reason why we give a little bit of bend in the knees or a softness in the knees so that any rotation, we're not locking and overstressing the knee. If you lock the knee out and do that rotation, you'll feel a little pull on the knee. So it just releases the knees a little bit. Connect to the ground, lift to the sky. So you create your center line, and then we rotate around that center line. Start moving the hips first. So we're moving from the center. Hips first. Just let the arms dangle. Just let the arms dangle. Keep lifting from the crown. It's quite common when we're starting to rotate and look from side to side that we drop our head forwards and this happens. But you want to keep tall through the crown. Keep that center line. And then just build up the momentum, but driving from the hips and then letting the elbows just bend. So we come into our knocking on the door of life. And why this is called knocking on the door of life is the point behind the belly button here, the back of the spine, is seen in Qigong as the door of life. So you're getting some vibration into the kidney area, into the back of the body. And you're also tapping across the front of the body, across the belly. But just let the arms do this naturally. It's the power from your hips and your legs that are driving the movement. Your arms are just following through. The spine is just following the drive from the lower body. With the breath, this is just natural in and out through the nose, not breathing in any particular way. As you're doing this, visualize each vertebra in the spine. So it's designed to rotate one on top of the other. So focus on the lower back. Just have a little bit of awareness of your lower back. And the actual rotation of the lower back is about 12 degrees. But where you get the most degree of rotation in the spine is the thoracic spine or the upper back, but this is where we tend to get quite tight. So bring your awareness now up to the upper back, and you get about 65 degrees of rotation through the upper back. And you imagine if the upper back is really tight, it's going to force the lower back to do more rotation. So it's often the upper back that causes problems with the lower back, but we tend not to look at the upper back. So really keep that head tall and balanced on top of the spine. Now focus on that upper back rotation. You might notice one side is easier. It's much easier to move to one side than the other side. And then just slow it down. Slow it down. And now this is where you can bring arms into focus. So now we're going to water waves. So now we're deliberately putting a little bit of resistance through the arms. So just a small amount of resistance. And what I mean by resistance is if I let go, there's no resistance. If I lift my arm and just drop my arm, there's no resistance. But if I lift my arm and then bring the arms down, so there's that little bit of resistance. So it's the same with this, is you want just to feel a little bit of resistance. And I like to think of the arms moving as a spiral. So you get the wrists rotating, the elbows rotating, and then the shoulders rotating. So feel the difference of just locking the arms out. Lock the arms out and just move the arms around the body, but then just bring a little bit of softness. Softness doesn't mean floppy. Softness doesn't mean weak. So there's a softness in the arms. Awareness behind the body as well, so back of the body. Be aware of as your palms change directions at the back of the body. And then slow it down. Just come to standing, shake the legs out if you need to. If in any of these moves you're starting to feel tight or tense in the lower body, we don't want to lock anything up. We don't want to become rigid. So if we're doing this and you start to feel tight, just move around a little bit. Just shake the legs out. Let's do a little bit of balance. So our palms, our fists are lightly clenched. I'm not tightening the fist, just lightly clenched fists. Just hold them for a second in this position. So they're about shoulder height. What is good about this is you can just relax the shoulders down. You might start to hike the shoulders up to hold the wrists up, but drop the shoulders down and just balance your arms there. Breathe. Make sure you're not holding the breath. Just breathe in. And then just lower the fists down. So it's a bit like a pump. So you're bringing the fists up and bringing the fists down. You're going about down to about hip height. And then you're bringing the fists up, lower down. Again, from a biomechanical point of view, feel how the shoulders work. Feel how the shoulder blades are working. And then just hold the fists down at hip height. Bring the feet together a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to step out to one side. So I'm going to mirror you with step out to the right. So if you step out to the right, I'm going about 30 degrees. So shift that weight, shift your center of gravity onto that front foot with that whole upper body. So that back foot is just stabilizing you. So let's just step back and do that one more time together. So balance. The weight will shift onto your left side as you step onto the right side, but then shift forwards. Balance there. And then step back. Now this time, step forwards, shift the weight. As you are shifting the weight, lift the fists up to about shoulder height and extend the spine. So I'm lifting the sternum up too, and then I'm looking behind, and then I'm bringing the fists down, softening the rib cage and stepping back. And then we'll go on to the other side. So step forwards onto the left side, shift the weight, extend and rotate. And then come back and step back. Let's go a couple more. Step forwards, extend, lift the sternum, and then look behind. Step back, step forwards, shift, extend, and step back. Do it nice and slow. So it's easy to do this. It's easy to step back quick. So do it slow. Slow, 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 slow. Remember, there's two ways to intensify an exercise. One is to speed it up. The other is to slow it down. It's going to be much more challenging from a balance point of view when you do these movements slowly. Step, extend, step back. And of course, remember, all of these movements, none of them are forced. So it's not about how far can I rotate. It's about feeling what your body needs. So yes, you're challenging yourself. You're challenging your balance. You're getting a good stretch through the body, but you're not overstretching or straining. And one of the best ways to monitor that is how you're breathing. Because if you get to a point where the strain, the breath will change. So just keep the breathing smooth, keep the movement smooth. Slowly step back, slow step back. Let's do one more each side. And then come to standing. With that one, when you are stepping forwards, I'll just come a little bit closer so you can see. So you're stepping at an angle. You want to extend the spine as well. So you're starting off by that spine wave and rotation, because quite often we get there and we just rotate. So we just step forwards, there's no extension on the spine and we just rotate. So the idea of lifting and opening up the spine to rotate, really nice. So you're lengthening the spine up and rotating rather than just rotating. Shake out a little bit if you need to. Another really good balance one using this same sort of like arm motion. We're going to go onto the balls of the feet. So if this causes any pain or if there's any problems with your ankles or anything, then just stay with the heels on the ground. But if you're comfortable, go onto the balls of the feet to balance. And then come back down. And again, come up onto the balls of the feet to balance. Breathe. Come back down. Couple more. Shift the weight forwards. Come back down. So you'll feel the weight rock back towards the heels, and as you rock the weight towards the balls of the feet, balance. Come back down. Got a nice crack through my ankle then. Shift the weight forwards. Balance. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Remember, we don't want the shoulders up here. Come back down. What was interesting then is if you do, just have a little explore of shifting the weight forwards and pulling the shoulders up, and notice how it can make you lose your balance. Do a couple more of these. breathing easy. And then take a rest, just shake the legs out. What I love about that, again, a really, really simple movement, is you really find your center of balance. Because if you shift the weight onto the balls of the foot and you lean back, you lose your balance. If you over lean forwards, which is quite common, as you come up and you lean forwards, you lose your balance. So it really tunes you into finding tall balance without falling backwards and falling forwards, which, guess what, when you're walking and running is really, really important. What is also good about this is that it's actually strengthening. You're doing like your calf raises, you're doing your heel raises. So it's strengthening the feet, it's strengthening that back line. And by using your arms coming up, it helps to open up the spine as well. So to challenge our balance a little bit more with that, come up onto the balls of the feet, shift the weight forwards, find your center of balance, but then look to the side. And then look to center and come back down. And then shift the weight forwards. As you're shifting the weight forwards, look to the other side. And then come back down. If this is causing a problem, if your calves are tightening, if your ankles are tightening, just do it with the feet staying on the ground, with the heels staying on the ground. But bear in mind, or have an awareness of where your center of gravity is. So you'll feel the weight slightly rock back to the heels there, and then slightly rock forwards there. But if you're comfortable, come up onto the balls of the feet. Look, keep the shoulders down, come back down. So we've mentioned this point before on the balls of the feet. In Qigong, it's called the bubbling spring. And you may notice, or you may feel, or you may not, but you might feel slightly different one side or the other in connection. So really get that point connected to the ground. So that point is right underneath the ball of the big toe. So like right in there. You'll feel, when you feel stable and balanced, you'll know the point. Let's do a couple more. And then come to standing. Shake out your legs now, so you may need a good shake of the legs. Let's do some hip work and then we'll finish with some tigers. So nice strong tigers. So hip circles, big hip circles. Take your feet about shoulder width apart. Actually a little bit wider, maybe about a shoulder and a half width apart. The legs are staying straight on this so that you get that nice stretch through your hamstrings when you go around the back. So by straight, I don't mean locked out. So there's still a little bit of softness in the knee, but you'll feel that hamstring stretch in 3 dimensions. So big hip circles in one direction. Let's do about 4 in one direction. And then we'll go in the other direction. Notice that I'm keeping a pretty neutral or just a natural spine here. So I'm keeping that little bit of curve in the back of the spine there. So I'm not leaning over, I'm not overarching the back. One more. And then we'll go into our wide stance. So go as wide as you can. turning the feet out as wide as you can. The key to this one is to make sure that your knee is over, so is in the direction of the middle of the foot. So we don't want the knees dropping in. So it's really working on these adductor muscles here inside of the legs and also the groin area. But again, don't overstrain anything. So just keep it nice and extended, but not pulled and over tightened or overstrained. Imagine you're sitting on a horse. So we're not going into a squat position. You're sitting on a horse and then you're doing a tiny circle with your sacrum. So we're tucking the pelvis under, circling the hips, but really inside in that groin area. So small movements. Really see if you can isolate the hip socket, that ball and joint socket. So going in one direction. And then going in the other direction. It's also good to pay attention to how your feet are connecting to the floor with this. So if you're grabbing at all or any excess tension in the feet. So you can just maybe relax the toes out a little bit. Make sure that knee stays in the position, in that right position. Tiny, tiny movements. And then from there, straighten the legs, rotate the feet in. So there we're getting a nice internal rotation of the hips. Rotate the heels in. So you're getting an external rotation and then rotate in and then back up to standing. So it's a safe way of getting out of that one, but it's also nice in getting the hips working. Shaking out the legs. And we'll just finish off with some nice tiger squats. So feet back to about shoulder width apart, little bit of turnout, using the claws. So the reason why it's quite fun to think of a tiger, but when you actually tighten and create tension through the fingers, it helps to create a nice strength through the arms and through the upper body. And then just lower the hips towards the ground, just as comfortably as you can. Don't think about going too deep. And then come back up. And again, lower your center of gravity. And back up. So keep tall through the spine. So watch that you're not doing this and then leaning down, bending forwards. So keep tall. This is another good way of using the arms. So it's almost like you're coming down a wall in front of you. I'd rather you come to here rather than get down here. So it's come down, lower your hips, and then come back up. So it's not about how deep you can get, it's about how well you can get into those hips and lower. Feel the balance on each side of the body. A couple more. And then finish off with a couple of growls. So a few tiger growls. So it's good just to release any tightness. Have a little bit of fun with it. One more. Good way to wake yourself up in the morning. Come up to standing. Open up. Pull down the sky. Crossing hands. Bringing the feet together. Just taking a moment just to balance with a little bamboo in the wind. Eyes open or eyes closed, whatever feels right for you. And then step out. Give your hands a little bit of a rub and have a little bit of a stretch. And we will finish there. Thanks for joining. Thank you for your time and attention. I'm back in London now. As I say, we'll be working on a 5-element 5-day challenge coming up, so I'll send you more details on that. But other than that, I will see you all hopefully on Tuesday, focusing a little bit more on the breath. Thanks for joining and have a great day. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you later.